What does that actually do?
But one of those is to do $75 million of projects.
How do you stay motivated? How do you look at setting really good, strategic, smart goals?
There's nobody like holding them accountable.
That's a hard thing to pass up.
When it goes sideways, you're not gonna hit $1 million revenue.
These are the non-negotiables, right?
But some are like, this is my goal. This is what I want to do.
Just had happen the other day. We raised $1.5 million in 26 hours, right?
Welcome to another episode of the Adventure Podcast. Here we're going to be talking more about goals today, kind of looking at setting new goals for 2026, how to get jump started, how to make sure you're on track, and also how we make sure us and our team really is hitting our goals from a personal level, professional level, a financial level, and also just business goals, right?
I think it's a great thing to talk about because everybody wants to set expectations, everybody wants to set goals, and a week into it, they're already falling off, right? And I think talking through how do you stay motivated, how do you look at setting really good, strategic, smart goals, I think this will be an interesting podcast today.
Oh yeah, we all fall into the trap of we set it up, we get started, right? We get to the first of the year, we're all excited, people are going to the gym, right? It's the busiest time of the year for the gym. And then all of a sudden it comes to the end of January and it's like, oh, what were my goals again? How does this work?
And how many goals did they set, right? They've got a list of like 20 goals.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I'm going to do all these in the first day. And again, by that first week, all of a sudden it's different. So why do you think most people fail at that? Like what, and just in general when they're setting goals, like what do you think the main reason is that they're just not achieving it?
Yeah, it seems like one of the reasons why, we see it even in the company, is there's no accountability, right? There's nobody like holding them accountable. They're not looking at their goals on a daily or a monthly basis. They're not talking about anybody with their goals. To me, one of the biggest things is communicating what your goals are, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's your significant other, business partner, coworkers, whatever it is, because if you don't tell people your goals, like they're never going to happen, right? Just to spend 5 minutes writing 5 goals down, what does that actually do?
Yep. And having a smaller list of goals, right? Having that long laundry list of things that you're going to get accomplished. Make 2 or 3 very strategic, smart goals, right? So they're measurable. You know that you can put somebody on task to you to actually keep you in charge with it or in task with it. But ultimately, I think that when we do our PPFs, right? Personal, professional, and financial goals, inside our company, we're reviewing them every other week, right? So that's a hard thing to pass up going, am I achieving my goals? Am I working on it? There's some accountability there.
Well, and you've done a lot of goal setting throughout your career, right? From everything that you've been doing, you've always been a goal person. Even when I started, you kind of got me into goals. Mm-hmm. So maybe talk as you went through your career, the differences with your goal setting and how it's evolved over a period of time, because you've obviously seen stuff that's worked for you, didn't work for you, and how it all happened.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think that a lot of times we set goals that are so large, right? We're writing them down and we're like, okay, this is way beyond achievable this year. I've started to kind of partition my goals up into 30 to 60 days, 6-month goals, 1-year goals, and then I shift them back and forth on my little sheet. But then on the other side, on the right side, I've got the BHAGs, right? So the big, hairy, audacious goals, and those are really designed for me to just kind of in the back of my mind go, yeah, someday I want to make it to Japan. Someday I want to go drink beer in Austria. And again, if you're writing them down, you have a higher probability. I don't even know what the percentage would be, but I know that probability is going to be much higher. Mm-hmm. And then strategically inside of that, working on, I use a kind of stupid simple, but it's a stoplight methodology, right? There's goals on my sheet that are red. There's goals that mean I haven't started anything on it. There's goals that are yellow, which means I've started something, not finished, and then I've got the green ones. And so that's kind of my heat map throughout the year to be able to say, how many of these am I achieving? What am I getting done?
And how did you come up with that, right? That's not something you just come up with.
Lots of different people did a lot of different reading. Ultimately, it's what works for you, right? Some people can put it up in their mirror and be like, that's what I'm going to do. Some people have to have a very specific, process that they follow. I think ultimately what gets the thing done because I had lots of different ways I was trying to set goals, and I just wasn't getting them across my finish line, right? And so once I had a friend tell me about this process and we worked together on it, all of a sudden it came really clearly to me, like, this works for me. This helps me see it.
It's like expert level.
Yeah.
It's like you're like expert level goal setting. I mean, that's like 30 to 60. I mean, that's what somebody who has done goals for however many years went through it. And like you can kind of control your whole list, right? But like that person just getting into it, that's where it's so important, like you said, to start with, of just a couple, right? Just put a couple down, and then write them down and have them at your desk, right? Have them printed off right next to you. So for one, you can always see them every single day, but for two, you can remember them, right? So it's not like, what are your goals, Doug? And it's, I don't know. It's more like, no, they're X, Y, Z. Like I can name them off the tip of my tongue.
And I think the interesting thing about that, and goals are really just dreams, right? So you take your dream, your aspiration, and you're like, this is my goal. This is the thing that I want to try and accomplish. And what happens more times than not is people do not, and you mentioned it earlier, they don't talk about their dreams, right? You and I shared our goals with each other this year. I try to share out my goals to 2 or 3 different people, especially the ones that I know I can really crush out, whether it's weight, running, business. But if I don't tell anybody that dream, that goal, that dream to execution will not happen, because you have no force behind you, right? My wife and I always talk about the universe, right? But the universe is really when you toss something out to go, Austin, I want to climb Mount Everest today. Well, guess what? One more person in the world heard that I want to climb Mount Everest. Now, maybe Austin knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and before you know it, you're talking to somebody that climbed it and said, hey, do it, here's the people. Like, this thing just starts to snowball. But all too often, people are programmed to keep their dreams in their head and never ever tell anybody about them.
Well, that's what you're taught, right? I mean, you're not taught to share, right? You're not taught to expose yourself a little bit, right? Even though like that's what you want to do, like that's your goal, like you want that to happen, right? Everyone, the majority of people are running on a hamster wheel, right? It's just a day-to-day, like it's just, okay, one foot from the next day, the next day, the next day. But it doesn't like maybe hit what they actually want to do. But if you don't share it, you don't write it down, you look at yourself 5 years from now and you're like, I didn't accomplish a single thing, right?
And when you think about that goal and you say, I am disciplined, right? Or I'm motivated to do that. Which one do you think is better, or is helps you achieve that better? Is it better to be disciplined? Is it better to be motivated? Like, what do you think that thing is? And especially you played ball for years, right? You had to have discipline and you also had to have motivation. Is it equal? Does one overrule the other?
Yeah, I feel like to me, motivation is probably the biggest of the two. And it's more because like you personally inside have to have the mindset, the belief, and the motivation, right? So it kind of all flows into that motivation piece to be able to get up in the morning, to be able to make sure you're following through, make sure you're looking at the stuff, right? Making sure it's right next to your desk. Like you have to be motivated to actually do it, right? Because if you don't do it, then you're not going to get anywhere, or it's not going to... You're not going to put the things in place so you could be disciplined, right?
And discipline could be, I've got my plan set up to go work out today, or my run plan for marathons, or how many pitches are you going to throw, or how many bats are you going to hit? Yeah,
and it could just be like you have, my discipline is I have you and we're looking at goals every single month.
Yep.
That's my discipline because I have somebody that's holding me accountable, right? That's the same thing as discipline.
But then the motivation is what I call the cherry on top, which is what takes you through to a state championship, to running Grandma's Marathon, to actually making money, to build wealth.
Yeah.
That's the motivation side, right? The discipline is kind of the roadmap to me. Discipline is a roadmap. The motivation is the push. The motivation is the drive. The motivation is what gets you 2 feet on the floor,
correct,
walking out the door at 4 o'clock in the morning to go do something.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because like you hear a lot about goals, and like they should be easily accomplished. They should be like simple. Some people will say, right, like stuff that's easier to cross off. And then more recently, we've been, with working with the Cardone Group, it's more about that belief and creating that vision for your life about what you see, and spending the time thinking about that. But then it's about how do you create a goal that's bigger than that, right? So like your belief is bigger, because if my goal is to run or to do X, well, a lot of the times the chances that you actually hit 100% of it aren't that great, right? You might hit 80% of it. So if you have a bigger goal and you're pushing for something bigger, then you're going to do better than what your original goal actually was, right? And if your goal is to do X amount in revenue, to do $1 million in revenue, well, then you're going to be doing activity that just gets you to $1 million in revenue. But if something goes sideways, you're not going to hit $1 million in revenue. But if your goal is to do $2.5 million in revenue, you have to do activities on a daily basis to do $2.5 million in revenue. And those activities wouldn't be the same as you're doing for $1 million in revenue. So if you're trying to do things at 2.5 and you don't hit it, but all of a sudden you hit 1.8 because you were doing things, putting sales in place, people in place to do that amount, and all of a sudden you're at 1.7 at the end of the year, well, you killed what your brain capacity goal was $1 million.
Yep.
So it's a little bit about thinking big, not too big, but something so you're putting something different in place about how you can hit and achieve that goal.
And then ultimately stepping up that belief lid, right?
Yeah.
Because if you believe you can only do $1 million in sales, or you can only have $1 million in your bank account, or you can only do X, Y, and Z, you will convince yourself, right? It's almost like reverse manifesting. Like you're gonna talk yourself into believing that this is the top you can be in your market. How did your goals in business and commercial real estate change from when you entered to where you sit today in your position?
So I mean, when I came in, when I started, I was not a goal person, right? You telling me to write goals was like, okay, sure, we'll see.
Yep.
I'll put some of it, and then it's sharing them, right? But that part of it is something that everyone goes through, right? Every new employee that we have that comes into here, and I have an interview with them, and I ask what their goals are, they're like, I don't know. But some are like, this is my goal. This is what I want to do. Well, that's the kind of people we want, for one. But for two, so then coming back to story more, is I didn't really have a process of goals. I was that person that, we have the 5 goals, this is what I'm going to do, right? And then after the first year, it's like, put it on the shelf and we'll talk to you next year, goals. But then as I kept growing, it's more about my belief got bigger, my understanding of goals got bigger, my mindset continued to change, my belief lid got higher, and then my goals continue to grow and grow. But now I fast forward to today, and they're very defined, right? They're 1, 3, and 5 years for the personal, professional, financial. But my 1 years, I go more in depth of having a few of them, right? So I usually have 4 of each, so that I have 4 specific things that I want to cross off this year that are bigger. And those things should tie into my 3 and my 5-year plans, right? They should all kind of go together. It's like you're almost creating a SMART goal of your 5-year goal, so you can break it down into 3 and 1 years.
And it's interesting to think about how that has migrated, that thought process has migrated through our whole organization, right?
Yeah.
So we work with our team underneath of us, and then our team leads underneath of us work with their people underneath them to help set those same goals, right? So everybody's aligned in that same goal. And we just had a meeting, we set up kind of a small little, what I would call advisory team underneath of us. Because of our growth, because of the ability in the organization to give people opportunity, now we're letting them set those goals of what they want to do inside the organization. But I was just having a conversation the other day with Kelvin, and I was talking about how we now even challenge our clients. One of our first conversations with a client is going to be, what are your goals? Right? Even though it's not a personal goal, but it's their business goal. What is the goal? What do you want to achieve by working with us at Venture Capital, right? Is it create wealth? Is it transition the building? Is it figure out how to strategize about their business so that they understand better the direction that they're taking? And it's kind of interesting because it's literally the first question we ask them now is, what's your goal? Because
it's so true.
And all too often we don't ask that. People don't ask that till the very end. Well, does this hit your goal? Well, why not reverse that and say, what's your goal first? Understand
it's changing that sales process, right? Because it's just a sales process into more of,
a story, right? It's how do you tell the story, right? How do you get enough information from a potential client so you actually know what they're trying to do, so you can put stuff in place, put your marketing in place, put your salespeople in place, whatever it is, so it hits their goal, right? Because that's what we're all trying to do. Like, as a salesperson, no matter if you're selling a widget, piece of real estate, a maintenance package, a media package, it's all about hitting that client's goal. And if you don't do that, then it doesn't matter, right?
Yep.
Well, by providing that service to find something that they can't do or they're having an issue with and solving it,
Yep.
right? It's kind of like us with capital. We have investors that invest with us. Could they invest in other things? 100%. But we're solving a problem, right? We're allowing them to invest into commercial real estate by not owning 100% of it, not having to manage it, not having to find tenants, not having to send checks, not having to have a bank account, not having to have an accountant work on it, and then also get tax benefits, right? So it's an alternative way for an investor to be able to sit there and get a different return on something than they would by having, you know, a bunch of money in the stock market that's so fluctuated by politics to fraud cases to whatever's going on in the marketplace these days.
And it's interesting too, because you think about, like, we're working with those investors for their goal, right?
Yeah.
And their number one goal most of the time is they want to create more wealth, right?
Yep.
But when you think about appreciation of an asset, pay down a debt of the asset, cash flow, right? Having it to be passive, right? So they don't have to necessarily manage it.
Yep.
Those are all most likely goals of our investors as they're working with us. And as we're bringing assets forward, we're trying to find the assets that best fit the needs and the goals of that investor. So when we marry them together, right? Like we just had happen the other day, we raised $1.5 million in 26 hours, right?
Yeah.
That investment exactly hit the goals of those investors, and they couldn't hit the button fast enough to invest with us, right?
Correct.
So pivoting back, because I'm guessing our viewers are interested in this, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, and I'll do mine too. What's one of your goals, I'll say from a personal side, whether it's fitness or, you know, something on a personal side so people can understand Austin a little bit? Like, what's one thing that you want to achieve this year so the viewers can all, at the end of 2026, go, hey, Austin, did you hit your goal? Like,
one of my personal goals for me is, as we're so busy in work, right? It's always finding time, not just for family, but then for like yourself, right? And that's more from like a health standpoint, right? As a business owner, investor, family, like where do you fit being healthy in that mix, right? It's a very hard thing to find and to figure out where it fits. So one of my main goals from a personal level for this year is to get down to 190 pounds, to be more fit, to work out 3 days a week, to get on a more regimented health plan, right? And it's easier because I look at it from starting today, like not only my family counts on me to be healthy, but like so does everyone that works here.
Yep.
Right? So you carry more of that weight. So it's more about how do I become more healthy so that in the long run you do as much as you can to not be too crazy over it, but to do what you want to be able to do at a healthy time period, especially as I have one kid now, and maybe more in the future, is that then you can be running around, you're not worrying about fitness or whatever it is.
And you want to be around for a while, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it's interesting because mine is virtually the same weight. I want to run Grandma's Marathon faster than I've ever ran it, right? And I've run it for a few years now, run it with the kids. But it was super interesting. Like my buddy Eric was really struggling to try and figure out how do I get back in the gym. And he just had this epiphany one morning. All of a sudden I got this random text. He's like, here's a pair of sneakers on the treadmill. And I'm like, dude, that is freaking awesome, right? So now, like, literally every morning I'm just texting him and he's texting back, and we're like having this little bit of accountability, and it's been really good for me as well.
Yeah.
Because and a lot of the viewers, we're all struggling with this. It's just like, time is hard. So how do you set up that discipline,
Yep.
right? So that you know what you have to do today to ultimately have the motivation to get out there and crush it, to ultimately hit your goals, right?
Yep.
And and it's for everybody. I think of my health the same way as for the organization, to be able to say, I need to show up tomorrow morning to take care of our team, to take care of the business, to make sure that I'm crushing my goals. And the only way I can do it is if I'm healthy.
Yeah, you can't, there's no other way to do it.
Why do you think goals matter more than ever right now?
To me, goals matter more than maybe they ever used to, especially in the position that I'm at today, is because we move so fast, right? And we have to be able to tell people what they're doing. And even from our team aspect, right? We're going through and setting up some of our final company goals for this year that we'll go through and announce. But one of those is to do $75 million of projects, right? We have to tell that to our team, because if we don't, then like our accounting team isn't planning to be able to do that. Our property management team isn't planning to be able to do that. Our investment team isn't like looking for more deals, right? Because you get complacent.
Yep.
And then we can track ourselves of how we're doing it. So like having that specific goal, like it's so important because it drives results from an organizational standpoint and personally. It just does. Like there's no other way of saying it. It just drives that result home so fast, especially in a very goal-oriented company like we have.
And I think it's kind of over the last year, you mentioned a little bit of us going through the Cardone University and really learning some different and unique ways of, I would call like an operating system for our business, right? And one of those things early on, we learned about kind of the non-negotiables and how it's like, this is something as a goal, as a process, lots of things can be negotiable. These are the non-negotiables, right? And I think about like how today we take a firm stance on goals and driving to success, right? But that ultimately helps our employees, helps our team, helps our business grow, because we're saying this is a non-negotiable. We have to hit this goal. This is a must-have. Do everything you possibly can to achieve that.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, sometimes we look at all of our goals that we've written on this piece of paper and they're all negotiable. Well, if you don't put anything on that piece of paper that just says, no, I am not going to put up with this as not getting achieved this year, well then just to your own self, to your own mantra, like what are you telling yourself? The goals don't matter.
Yep.
Right? And I think that people have to, in their mind, go, and that's why I think sometimes that whole big list is really tough, because it's just a lot of minutia in there, right? There's just a lot of things. You start chasing squirrels on your list and you don't know which ones to tackle. And keeping that really concise with 2 or 3 goals that you know you can hit, because it feels good to win, right? Why not win 3 times a year with hitting 3 goals, then losing 9 out of 10 times when you don't hit those goals, right? I think that's that winner mentality that, that I know I appreciate about you, is that you like to win, right? I like to win. So winning on your goals, I think, is really important for your own internal engine, to be able to say, like, I'm getting revved up.
Correct.
Like when Isaac walked in this morning, he was revved up, man. That guy
the guy gets up at 1 a.m. and he is on fire.
He's on fire all day.
Yeah, that's true.
But what he's helping our organization, right? Like moving into media now, was a goal of yours, right? And so
been a goal for a few years.
Yeah, and having somebody like Isaac walk in and be able to help us achieve those goals and start to move into a different deliverable of venture capital has been really refreshing. It's fun. Didn't even have it on my radar this year, right? But what it's going to end up at the end of the year is going to help us set new goals, a different belief lid, because now we're going to be like, hey, we started the media company this year. Didn't have it on on our specific plan, but now what's at the end of the year, we can think bigger than we ever did before.
Correct. No, you're totally right. So you're big on non-negotiables and motivation, right? So like, what's like a hot takeaway from you for a motivational standpoint? Like, what does motivation mean to Doug?
you know, I just had this saying come up the other day again, and I used it, and it's actually really simple. My motivation comes from just doing what you say you're gonna do. Period. Non-negotiable. If somebody tells me something, right? Oh, I'm gonna do this for you, Austin. I'm gonna get this thing done. And then I'm sitting at the table and I'm waiting for it, or I'm waiting for the phone call or the email, and it doesn't show up, and it's a day later, it's whatever, right? I think of those same things as goals, right? If you said you were gonna do it, you wrote it down, then just do it.
You told somebody you were gonna do it.
You told them you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
That's a credo. I honestly, like, for me, that's one of my really big credos. You've heard me use that many, many times before, but man, if you wanna walk a thin line and you wanna be a high achiever, just do what you say you're gonna do. That's it.
That's simple.
Simple.
It's not hard.
Mic drop, right? But we all know in business, life, that there's a lot of people out there that will tell you one thing and deliver on the other, right? Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating. It's hard to work with. And so ultimately you start to choose to not work with those people, or you just go, you've got a choice to make a decision to deliver on this promise, on the deliverable, or we're going to move on and do something different.
Yeah, and that's just like a big thing. I mean, I think that's a good tip for everybody listening or watching to this is just do what you say you're going to do, right? It's nothing that's hard. It's nothing that honestly needs motivation. It just needs a little bit of discipline, right? Just do what you say you're going to do. It's really that simple. If you say you're going to do something, then just follow through and do it, right? Because one of the big things that we always see is you tell somebody, or somebody tells you that they're going to do something, and then you have to follow up, right? That's the exact opposite, right? So people that work with us, that work here, we fall directly into that of people will do what they say they're going to do or they won't be here. Because I don't have time, Doug doesn't have time, my management level team doesn't have time, my investors don't have time, my clients don't have time. So you have to do what you say you're going to do no matter what, right? So thanks everyone for listening in here today. One thing I'll challenge everyone at home is to look at your goals. Do you have them in place? If you don't have them in place, then let's get them down. If you want some accountability, put a DM, put a comment below in this YouTube, in this channel, and we'll follow up with you. We can be along with your journey with that, right? That's something that we take very big pride in. I have a bunch of potential interns showing up here today and tomorrow to potentially work with us, and that's one of the things that I'll be talking to them about too, is what are their goals? What do they want? What do they want out of school? It doesn't matter if you're in business, working at a job, in college, in high school, like, you got to have goals. So let us help you with them if that's something that you want us to help you with. So comment below if you want to take part in something like that. Otherwise, like, subscribe, follow along. Be ready next week for another episode here with Doug and Austin with Inventure Media and this new showing that we're doing with you guys. Thank you, everybody.
Take care.